I don't even actually believe that he's standing by. It's probably, a fill-in or something like that. Someone playing Michael Chandler. Let's see if he's actually there because he's such a huge megastar. There he is, Iron Mike. I mean,
Ariel. Hey, Michael. And Michael never forgets. Okay, I remember back when I was a nobody. And you wouldn't have me on your show. No, I'm just joking.
Wow, you've been in this very studio after MSG, and you're fighting Brent Primus. Now here you are. It's 10-1. It's 10 texts to 1. That's who you are. You're Michael 10 texts to 1 Chandler. But I love it. I won't stop. Just like you. I'm relentless.
Yeah. That's right. No, I'm quickly becoming the daddest man on the planet. So I get done after these fights, man, and everyone wants to be pulling me in a bunch of different directions, man. I just want to be sitting here holding a baby bottle, and went to a doctor's appointment this morning for my son Ace. So we're moving on.
Congratulations to you and your wife on that as well. Now you're a father of 2, and it happened, I mean, very close to your fight. What was life like? I mean, here you are, you're welcoming a second child into your family, and then you're about to have this massive fight. How crazy have the last couple of weeks been like for you?
They've been, pretty crazy. I mean, obviously, we didn't plan it this way. Whenever we decided to go down the road of adoption again, we were excited about it and excited about the prospect, but you never know how long it's going to take. You never know how easy or hard the process is going to be. This one just turned out to be couple weeks before this fight, so I left Florida where I was training. I met my wife in a location, and then we ended up with them. And just 2.5 weeks later, I ended up obviously, fighting at UFC 274, which obviously worked out really well. But now I can finally get back. It's funny, all fight week, the last part of fight camp, everyone's just kept asking me, what's it like to be a father of 2? And I'm like, I have no idea. I know what it's like to be a father to my son Hap, who we've had for almost 5 years, but I hadn't even been home yet to enjoy and love and serve and take care of my new son Ace. So my wife has been carrying the brunt of it and single momming it for the last couple of weeks, but now daddy's home and I'll back on daddy duty.
There were a couple of really underrated moments on this topic that I just wanted to ask you about. At the ceremonial weigh-ins, I saw you doing this, and I'm assuming you were talking to your son. And then one amazing moment after the knockout, and you're flipping all over the place, you jumped on top of the cage, and there's a ton of hysteria, but it looked to me like you broke down. You spotted him in the crowd. I had a feeling you were looking at your son. I know that feeling. I know that look, and you started crying. Am I right that you were looking at him, and could you even describe what that feeling was like? Because I believe that was the first time he saw you in person, right? Fight in person.
Yeah, it was the first time, and obviously, this was definitely to him on the scales because he and I do that to each other, so it was just a way for us to share a moment. As soon as the fight was over, I was jumping up on the cage. You can kind of hear me saying, "Where's my son?" Because I'm happy I didn't see him and my wife before the fight because I think it might have taken me into a space that I didn't want to be in right before I actually fought. But with that was also the caveat of I also had no idea where they were whenever I did win. So I didn't know if I was supposed to be looking north, south, east, west. I didn't know where they were. But then as soon as I saw him, it was just like that was the moment where I was. It hit me so hard, and I was so happy that he was within arm's reach very soon. Like he was going to come see me. And then immediately he was concerned because he was like, "Daddy, your black eye, you got a black eye." And I went in for a kiss. He even turned his head real fast. Cause my face is all bloody and sweaty. And he's like, "Oh, dude,"
Yeah.
But that moment, it's so hard to describe that moment for every fighter. Right after the fight is over, as soon as the ref pulls you off or the opponent gets knocked out or you get your hand raised and they announce your name, up until that moment, there's always a chance that you could lose because we're fighting in 4-ounce gloves. And this is such a crazy sport. And you train all these months to get this one opportunity. So to finally have that weight lifted off of my shoulder, the next, the next order of business was do some backflips. And then the next order of business after that was to hey, where's my son? I've shared this moment with my wife so many times now. I couldn't wait to share it with him. And as soon as I saw him in his lime green shirt, I lost it a little bit up there on national TV. I had one job, man. Act tough, but I lost it. So
plenty tough leading up to that point. By the way, what happened to your finger, man?
Oh, dude! So I went from everybody knows I wear a silicone ring. I'm normally a size 10. I'm wearing a size 12 right now.
Wow.
I can tell you what, man. It was one of those kind of serendipitous things, man. Because my warm up was done. I was completely done with my warm up. It was the third round of the OSP Shogun fight, and I had this thought in my head. I was like, you know what? Tony does like to throw some kicks, and I've been doing a really good job of blocking left kick, going body shot. So I was like, hey, Marquez Jackson, one of my best friends, one of my best training partners. I was like, hey, throw some kicks at me. So he threw a kick. He was throwing them fine. He was throwing them perfectly. But for some reason, I went to go catch one of them, and it just bent my finger back. Sorry, I'm in the weird light right here. It bent this finger all the way back to there. And Coach Henry like puts his hand here because he saw me go like this. I lifted my finger up, and it went the opposite direction. It was just out of socket. So I was like, all right, boys, we got a thing going on here. Like, don't worry, we're fine. Like, and then immediately I like made a fist, and it kind of went, and I think it popped back into place once I made a fist. But still, I saw Dr. Davidson. He's the UFC doctor. He came over, took a look at it. He said, hey, you can make a fist. It's back in the socket, so you're fine. And it's just been, very fat, swollen, bruised, and I can't really make a fist since then. But I told him, I said, boys, it ain't a hand, it's a hammer. We got one job to do. We got to go out there. We got to sling it no matter what. So Coach Jason hopped up. I started hitting mitts. I just wanted to keep the adrenaline going because, yeah, it was an outer body experience for sure. You're about to make the walk and fight a guy in front of millions of people on pay-per-view, and you just dislocated at least one of your fingers. I might have done it to my pinky one as well, but it turned out fine. We're all right.
Did he shock you in the first?
I think no matter what, the fight shocked me itself because I think with a guy like Tony, he's awkward. So speed wise, I'm faster than him, and I'm used to seeing guys faster or as fast or faster than him. So speed wasn't the problem. It was more just his movement and his awkwardness, and also the way that he moves is different than the way you see everybody else standing in front of you for the last 10, 12 weeks. Shoot, for me, the last 12 years, there's nobody that fights like Tony. So I think I was somewhat lulled to sleep in certain aspects too, because I'm like, what's he going to do next? Is he going to attack right now? Or is he a little bit gun shy? It was weird. Honestly, I don't want to say weird because I don't want to ever discredit what Tony has accomplished. He's just a different type of athlete. He looks different, feels different, acts different, moves different. But yeah, no, he caught me in the eye, got a black eye. He caught me one other time, obviously on the top of the head as I was kind of coming in. So he threw punches from weird angles. He threw punches when I didn't expect him to be throwing punches. And then, obviously the first round, I was able to have a little bit of success on the feet, but also blast double of them, have some success on the top. And obviously we saw the way it ended in the second.
When you see that photo online, I'm sure you know the photo I'm talking about. What do you think?
No matter what, obviously I feel more bad for him than I do feel proud of myself, to be honest with you. It's one of those pictures where you're just like, gosh, dang, man, that could be any of us. Mixed martial arts is such a ruthless, tough game, man. And we've all been on the wrong side of those exchanges. We've all been on the right side of those exchanges. It's just, is your card going to be called? Is your number going to be called tonight? Is it my number or your number that's getting called tonight? And luckily for me, it was his number that got called. Unfortunately for him, but lucky for me, yeah. That picture now those pictures will live on the internet forever, and he has become a meme and that kind of stuff. But it doesn't. If anything, it should make people love the sport more. That no matter what, we're braving the unknown and braving the embarrassment every single time we put those gloves on. Because the internet is ruthless, it's undefeated, and the trolls be everywhere.
The hardcores, and I'll include myself in that category, we've been watching you for a very long time. We remember the first Eddie Alvarez fight. We remember you coming in. I remember Strikeforce. We remember all of that. And, none of us are surprised about this. I thought there was a great tweet from CJ Tuttle of Bellator PR who's like, hey, you see the success he's having here. This should let you know that Bellator isn't a second-class organization. Like, there's good fighters here as well, and it's great to see you have the success. But I got to say, Mike, Where did the promos come from? That freaking promo on Saturday, like you hit all the notes. It was like check, 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 check. The delivery was fantastic. You're getting props from The Rock. I mean, and that's like the highest praise possible in that regard. Where did the promos come from? Because I don't know if the promos were always there like we're seeing now.
I wasn't legitimately putting myself in a position to be the number one fighter in the world. Therefore, I didn't want to show my complete skill set. I also didn't want to. It's hard, like you said, man. I don't want to ever speak about Bellator or where I was previously in a non-positive light. I love Bellator. I love Scott Coker. I love that I came up in that organization. But it's really hard to cut a promo like that and talk about becoming the best fighter in the world when you know you're not fighting the best fighters in the world. CJ, love you, buddy, but Bellator doesn't have the best fighters in the world. There might be one or two outliers in the organization, but it's just the truth. And I got a text on my phone from Scott Coker right now. He and I still speak. We are as close as they come, and I am very thankful for my history in the organization. But to answer your question, it was going to be hard for me to get on a microphone and tell everybody I'm the most entertaining fighter in the world when I'm not fighting in the premier organization. We can all admit, and if you don't admit, you're either a hater or you don't know the sport, that the mixed martial arts is the UFC is the premier organization, and the fighters in the UFC are the premier fighters on the planet. Are there other outliers outside of the organization that could hang with the UFC? I'm sure there are. So that's kind of where it has come from. That's kind of where I realized when all the eyeballs, all the lights, all the cameras are on me. And when I say all of them, I mean all of them, because you're fighting at the highest level in the UFC on a big pay-per-view like this. That's when you break out the extra wrinkles in your game, the extra stuff that maybe even a guy who is well versed as Ariel Helwani didn't know was there. I'm glad that I got it in my back pocket. I actually got a phone call from Diamond Dallas Page, who was like, "Goodness gracious, Mikey, the promo." Yeah. So I knew I wanted to talk about Charles. Everybody wants to see me rematch him. I knew I wanted to talk about Gaethje just in case he had won. And I knew I wanted to talk about Conor because I think I'm the most electrifying, most entertaining guy in the sport. And it would be a huge pay-per-view if he comes back. Now, finally, everybody's talking about me and Diaz, which I thought would be a phenomenal fight over the last year or so. So it'll be interesting, man. There's some big fights on the horizon, and I still think my number one goal, obviously, is still to win that title. So I think I could be next for Charles, or maybe Makhachev or someone else gets that title if it's that title shot. If that's the case, then I got some big fights ahead of me.
Okay, so this is the biggest question I can ask you, because the last couple of days it's been Diaz to you, Conor, Charles, Tony. The lightweights are just tweeting up a storm over there. If I'm Dana White and I come to you, Michael, you have earned the right to be asked this question and to answer this question. Who do you want next, and when do you want that fight? Because already Diaz has thrown out a date, and Conor's out there talking about you. What do you want next? Who do you want next? When do you want it next?
That's tough. I mean, first of all, wouldn't we all love to be in that position where you actually get to choose, and you got the guy like Dana saying that you've earned the right to make that decision. And it's probably the toughest decision that you could possibly make as an athlete. I mean, we saw Dustin Poirier make it, and he made it pretty easily. He made the decision to go for the money fight, the big fight, the legacy fight instead of the title fight. I don't know if I make that decision though. It's hard. I think Diaz and Conor are huge fights. Obviously, the Conor fight for me as an athlete is so much bigger than the Diaz fight. I do want the Diaz fight, of course. But that Conor fight will definitely cement my legacy as a guy who did just about everything in the sport, except for win a UFC title. So I got to win that UFC title, right? So it's been my goal to be number one since the very beginning. I think I want that title fight against Charles because everything else falls into place after that as well. So that would be my choice, I think. just it's the champion in me. It's the competitor in me. I'm still scratching at the surface of my potential. I can still get so much better. I go back and watch my last performance. Yeah, maybe I win knockout of the year. Maybe it's one of the most devastating knockouts people have seen. I've continued to show people that I'm entertaining. I'm never in a boring fight, but I still have some wrinkles in my game that I can bring to the surface, and I still have some places I can get better. So I just want to see what's next. It's only been a couple hours now. I've actually been home and thought about what's next, but we'll see.
Do you want to fight in July, or is that too soon?
Well, I mean, that's the other thing as well. I mean, like we said, I got X-rays and MRIs, 3 of them scheduled this week, just to work on and look at some things, man. God did not create our bones to crack up against each other like we do. I threw two kicks in that fight, one on Tony's inside right leg as he was a southpaw. He switched stances, and I hit him with a really hard low kick as well. So shin bone is jacked up. Could have a fracture in there. Ankle has had some problems in the past. Obviously, the dislocated finger it was definitely 100% dislocated after having Dr. Davison look at it. But now we got to take an MRI and make sure there's no ligament, tendon, joint problems that might need surgery. So, obviously, me committing to July right now it's not possible. And even if I was 100% healthy, would I want to come back that quickly? We'll see.
It feels to me like they're going in the direction of Islam versus Charles next, and then it feels like you have 3 massive options. Conor, who we still don't know when he can return just yet. I'm hearing late this year, maybe even early next year. We'll see. And then you've got Diaz, who's, calling you out, but July 30th doesn't really work. He wants to, it seems like, speed up the clock on his contract. And then there's Dustin out there as well, and you guys have kind of been circling each other too. If it's down to Diaz and Dustin, do you have a preference?
Diaz, I have no interest in fighting Dustin, honestly.
How come?
I got asked the other day who do they see being a champion if it wasn't me or wasn't, and I completely forgot about him. To be quite honest, man, I think he's a great dude. I think I like him for the sport, but I also think I was completely disregarded and pushed aside whenever I came into the organization. He completely disregarded me, completely, acted as though I didn't deserve to be where I was. And so maybe it's a little bit more of a personal issue, but I also don't think is Dustin a draw? I guess he is the number 2 guy, the ranked number 2 now. But he's kind of just stayed at number 2, and he's, I don't know how active he's going to be. But I did see that he tweeted that I was saying everybody else's name but his, as if I was, maybe didn't want to fight him because of, technical reasons or whatnot. But that was more just, I forgot about him, to be honest with you. So hats off to him for what he's done in his career, and I respect the heck out of him. He makes some great hot sauce. But as of right now, I don't really have a desire to fight him.
You had a really interesting tweet in between the whole Charles Oliveira, having to go back and try to lose that extra half pound. And then obviously we see what happens the next night. Do you think it's fair that he was stripped of his belt?
I do, only because I'm the most cutthroat when it comes to making weight. I don't care. You want to talk about the scales were messed up, and I've seen other people talk about scales are messed up. And I had a Brazilian reporter come up to me and tell me, "Hey, the scales are messed up. I want you to do an interview." And I'm like, "No, I don't need to talk to you about scales being messed up. The scale is the scale is the scale." And we're all professionals, and we all woke up at a certain point. We all checked our weight. We all know how to lose weight. We've been doing it dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I've made weight over 100 times in my career, and I've never once missed weight. I don't say that to dig at Charles, but you don't make weight, you don't wrestle. He's lucky he even got to compete, honestly. So it's unfortunate that it happened, because I'm a fan of Charles Oliveira. You are a fan of Charles Oliveira. You have eaten your words. I have eaten our words. It's about time we all start putting some respect on Charles Oliveira's name. And I will tell you this, watching him finish Gaethje the way that he did, I wish I was a little bit more in a position to really, really fight for putting my name in the hat for that title, because I think we might be witnessing the best lightweight reign that we've seen in a long time. I think even Khabib and him, when you talk about strength of schedule and how he's finishing guys and how he's beating guys, Charles Oliveira is looking about as unbeatable as they come right now. But I think I still got his number. I think we have some unfinished business, and I would just love to compete against him. I would love to win that title from Charles Oliveira. So back to your original question. Yes, I do think he should have been stripped, only because you got one job up until fight night, and that's to make weight, and it's unfortunate that he didn't. And we're also talking about a Charles Oliveira who, albeit he has missed weight at 145 in the past, maybe he's done it at 155, but most of them were at 145. If it happens more than once or twice, it becomes somewhat of a habit forming tendency. So it's unfortunate that he did, because I do think he's one of the best lightweights that we've seen in a long, long time.
Considering both guys, were you surprised it went down like that in the main event?
I once again, man, I think we were more wrong about Charles Oliveira than we actually thought we were. Charles Oliveira went out there and was not afraid to stand toe-to-toe and slug it out with Justin Gaethje, and then hurt Justin Gaethje numerous times just to drop Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje doesn't know where he's at, and then Charles just smashes him on the ground. Completely looked like a fish out of water again. Justin did. And I love his technique of, he gets clipped, he gets hit a little bit, and he just falls to his back. This is one of probably the most underappreciated aspects of his game. The fact that he might not even barely get hit. He'll just fall to his back, get a little bit of a rest, because he knows most people are not going to engage. I did. I think I kicked him a couple times and jumped into his guard, if I'm not mistaken. But most people are going to be too afraid of him on the ground. And we knew Justin Gaethje was going to be at a bad spot on the ground. That's not to take anything away from him. He's just that dominant on his feet. And we didn't think Charles Oliveira was going to go out there and slug it with Justin Gaethje. If there was a takedown of Justin Gaethje by Charles Oliveira, we all thought, without a shadow of a doubt, it would be a double leg, single leg, body lock, put him up against the cage. Not that Charles Oliveira would drop him with a shot and then get on top of him and then choke him out.
Two last quick
things. So it was great. It was great.
Two last quick things, because I know you got to run. Appreciate the time very much, sincerely. Number one, I'm just curious, like that kick, very different than the Anderson kick, very different than the Lyoto kick. Obviously the result's similar, but the technique, that is something you practice. It would look like a punt. That was the closest thing. Like, it looked like you are a football player punting the ball. That's the way your body moved. Do you actually practice that, or was that just you flowing in the moment?
I don't practice it a ton on a pad or on a bag or anything like that. I throw it in my shadow boxing here and there, so you can kind of learn the distance. Luckily I did kind of jam my toes up a little bit, but the fat pad of the bottom of my foot is definitely a little bit sore after cracking off of the skull. But for the most part, it's something I throw in shadow boxing here and there, and you can kind of see stalk, and then I almost kind of stepped and I guess hopped into it, if you will, and it went straight up the middle, and dadgum, it landed right where it needed to at the exact right time, and had a lot of force. Now, and I heard DC talking about it not having technique, and it looked more like a punt. I don't really know the difference between what mine was and what Anderson Silva's and Lyoto Machida's was. I know Machida's was more of a hop kick straight out, but I thought Anderson's kind of came straight up. At the end of the day, we all got two arms and two legs, and we're just kind of trying to throw these extremities at a human being, and sometimes I land, sometimes I don't.
Last one. This last 2-year stretch for you is really unlike anything we've ever seen. I don't recall, I've been racking my brain, like we haven't seen a guy be in another organization, have tremendous success over there, be the face of that organization, but, not get the shine that the UFC guys were getting, come over here and have 4 fights like you've had. And you're 2-2, but there's never been a better investment from the UFC in terms of box office, in terms of delivering for the fans. Every one of those fights was more exciting than the next. And now you're like, I look at the little things. I look at the retweets you're getting, the likes you're getting. You've never gotten this kind of love before, and it's long overdue. Again, the ones who've been watching you know that you deserved this a very long time ago. How do you not let your head get so massive now? Because you're not new to this game, so you're a vet. But man, I'm sure life is crazy behind the scenes for you right now. Opportunities coming your way, business. How do you not, feel like you're king shit at this point? Because I can't even imagine what life is like for you after competing like that and delivering like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and this is what we live for, Ariel. Like this is why we do what we do. Obviously my favorite why and reason why I do what I do is obviously to provide for my family. But there's part of it too that said, man, I was just a small guy from a small town who set off on a journey, who never really thought I would create too much of a crazy life athletically, but I have now, and it's really, really great. And I want to feel the exhilaration of those backflips and that crumble lawn chair knockout of a legend like Tony Ferguson in front of millions of people. And like, this is what we live for, But then I still got Ariel asking me to do an interview, and I'm like, hey, can we push it to 145 so I can go be at my son's, school at 2:30 and pick him up? Like, that's trying to live between the two extremes, extreme servanthood and servant leadership to my wife and my sons, and being a good steward of our finances, and also extreme tenacity and ridiculous psychopath that you guys just saw on Saturday night. And somewhere in between is the real me. But I just think it's easy. It's easy to stay grounded when I know where I started and where I came from. And it's also easy to stay grounded to know that this all could be taken away from me at the drop of a hat. One bad decision, one bad comment, one bad thing, getting caught on camera, one bad decision, one bad, we've seen all these different careers fall by the wayside. This all could be taken away from you at the drop of a hat. I by no means think I'm any cooler than I was, years ago, and when I was just somewhat of an irrelevant fighter. I'm just the same old guy, and I'm just a testament to all the hard work eventually pays off. You just have to still be standing there ready to receive it when it does. And now I'm still standing here with arms wide open, willing and able, and put myself in a position to receive all of the blessings that hopefully the last 13 or 14 years have afforded me. And we were building this thing brick by boring brick outside of the UFC. We were building all the bright lights, tiny bulb by tiny bulb, decades ago now. And now it's all just kind of coming to fruition. And we're talking about a Conor fight. We're talking about a DS fight. We're talking about a lightweight title fight. These are all really, really great options and the epitome of accomplishment inside the sport of mixed martial arts. And I sat down with Hunter Campbell September of 2020, and I said, Hunter, I'm going to come in and I'm going to work really, really, really hard. I'm going to say yes to every opportunity, and I'm going to be the most exciting fighter on your roster. And most importantly, I want to be a good thing for your organization. And I think as of right now, as we sit here today, not only have I been entertaining and put on great fights and people have finally come around, but I think ultimately I'm being a good thing for an organization that needs as many good fighters as they possibly can, not just inside the octagon, but outside the octagon. So I'm happy, I'm grateful, and I appreciate the platform and the opportunity, man. Thank you.
Anytime. Congrats, man. Go be a dad. Appreciate the time. Very, very happy for you. I remember Conor telling me after he beat Aldo, the fight game is all about numbers and options. You have the numbers, you have the options, my friend, and I can't wait to see which option you pick next, because you've got a pretty nice cast of characters wanting to fight you at this point. So well done. Enjoy it, Mike. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ariel. I appreciate you, man. See you at the top.
All right, there he is. Michael Chandler, Iron Mike.